Hello and welcome, my sleepy explorers of the sea. Tonight we're diving into one of the ocean's most peculiar mysteries, how sea cucumbers, those soft, squishy creatures of the deep, actually breathe through their butts. Yes, you heard that right. But before we begin, I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Are you curled up on a quiet coastline, or nestled deep in the heart of a bustling city, dreaming of coral reefs? Let the gentle waves of knowledge wash over you as we explore the strange, beautiful and sleepy world of the sea cucumber. Now close your eyes, slow your breath, and let's drift into the depths. Soft-bodied and often overlooked, sea cucumbers might be some of the most unusual creatures to ever wriggle along the ocean floor. They belong to a group of animals called echinoderms, which includes starfish and sea urchins, though at first glance it's hard to see the resemblance. Unlike their spiky or star-shaped cousins, sea cucumbers are elongated, squishy and tube-shaped, resembling quite accurately the vegetable they're named after. But beneath that simple appearance lies a complex and fascinating life. Sea cucumbers come in all shapes, sizes and colours. Some are short and stubby, fitting comfortably in the palm of a hand, while others stretch out to over 2 meters long, slowly gliding across the seabed like sleepy sea serpents. Their bodies are usually soft and leathery, sometimes covered in tiny tube feet or wart-like projections that help them move ever so gently across the sand. Many of them have subtle muted colours, browns, greys and creams, perfect for blending into the ocean floor. But others, especially those in coral reefs, display striking patterns in bright yellows, blues, or even glowing purples. Some even shimmer under the light, as if the ocean gave them a touch of stardust. Unlike fish or crabs, sea cucumbers don't dart or scurry. They meander. Their movement is slow, methodical, and almost meditative, using tiny hydraulic tube feet along their undersides. These feet, powered by water pressure rather than muscle, are part of a larger internal system known as the water vascular system, an ancient and unique evolutionary feature shared by all echinoderms. It allows them to extend or retract their tube feet, giving them gentle grip as they slowly explore the seafloor in search of food. But what truly sets sea cucumbers apart isn't just their shape or pace, it's their place in the underwater world. These creatures are the ocean's quiet recyclers, feeding on tiny particles of detritus, plankton, and organic material that settle on the seabed. As they feed, they ingest sand and extract nutrients, then excrete cleaner sand behind them. One might say they're the composters of the ocean, quietly and continuously transforming waste into nourishment for the surrounding environment. In this way, sea cucumbers play a vital role in keeping marine ecosystems healthy, even though most humans never even notice them. Sea cucumbers don't have eyes, at least not the kind that can see in the traditional sense. Instead, they rely on a finely tuned sense of touch and chemical cues in the water. Their skin can detect changes in light and shadow, and their tentacle-like mouths can taste the sand they sift. When danger approaches, some sea cucumbers tighten their bodies or hide beneath the sediment. Others have even developed the remarkable ability to eject their internal organs, literally spitting out their guts to confuse predators. As strange as it sounds, it works. The predator often retreats, and the sea cucumber quietly begins the process of regrowing its lost insides like nothing ever happened. There are over 1,700 known species of sea cucumbers in the world, and likely many more waiting to be discovered in the unexplored corners of the deep sea. Some live in shallow tide pools, while others drift at the edges of hydrothermal vents, where boiling water pours from cracks in the Earth's crust. Wherever they're found, sea cucumbers remain a quiet testament to the adaptability of life. They thrive in environments from the sunny reefs of the tropics to the dark, icy plains of the deep ocean trenches, enduring crushing pressures and frigid temperatures in total silence. Despite their strange appearance, these creatures have been important to humans for centuries. In many coastal cultures, especially throughout Asia and the Pacific, sea cucumbers are harvested and used in traditional dishes and medicines. Some are believed to have healing properties, boosting immunity or aiding digestion. Others are dried and traded as delicacies, sometimes fetching high prices in international markets. And now, as modern scientists peer deeper into the ocean's mysteries, sea cucumbers are gaining attention for the chemical compounds they produce. Compounds that may one day be used to treat cancer, inflammation, or infection. Still, most sea cucumbers remain anonymous. They live without sound, without hurry, without spectacle. Just quiet creatures performing quiet miracles every single day. As we begin this journey into their world, it's important to remember, sometimes the most remarkable beings are the ones that go unnoticed, inching their way through life, gently shaping the sea beneath them, one grain of sand at a time. Sea cucumbers are wanderers of the seafloor, and their habitats are as diverse and surprising as the creatures themselves. These unassuming echinoderms can be found in nearly every ocean on Earth, from the warm shallows of tropical lagoons to the icy depths of the polar seas. Their presence spans a staggering range of environments, quietly occupying spaces where other creatures might struggle to survive. In fact, sea cucumbers are so adaptable, they're found at every depth level of the ocean, including the very bottom of the deepest known trenches on our planet. In the vibrant shallows of coral reefs, sea cucumbers often live among a dazzling mosaic of life. Here, beneath shafts of golden sunlight that pierce the surface and dance across the coral, sea cucumbers move slowly along the sand and rubble, filtering out decaying plant matter and leftover food scraps. They may rest beside swaying sea anemones, or crawl past a curious clownfish darting from its anemone home. In these sunlit waters, sea cucumbers sometimes display their most beautiful colours: rich reds, speckled greens, deep blacks with shimmering flecks. Some even glow faintly under ultraviolet light, giving them an otherworldly appearance when night falls over the reef. But not all sea cucumbers dwell in such lively neighbourhoods. Many live in colder, darker regions, where the ocean stretches out in silent vastness. Along continental shelves and deep underwater plains, they sift the fine, cold sediment for organic particles that drift down from above. In these zones, sunlight fades into twilight and then vanishes entirely. Still, the sea cucumbers remain, undisturbed by the absence of light, content to move in slow rhythm with the deep-sea currents. Then there are those who dwell in the deepest parts of the ocean, thousands of meters below the surface, where pressure is crushing, temperatures hover just above freezing, and complete darkness reigns eternal. These deep-sea sea cucumbers often have soft, transparent bodies and may resemble delicate balloons more than anything else. Some have adapted fins or small paddles, allowing them to float a few centimeters above the seafloor, drifting like ghostly zeppelins over the abyss. Others use their tube feet to anchor themselves firmly to the seabed, inching along in a world that few other animals can endure. Perhaps the most extreme habitats sea cucumbers call home are the hydrothermal vents and cold seeps scattered across the ocean floor. Here, volcanic activity forces mineral-rich water from the Earth's crust into the ocean, creating underwater geysers that hiss and swirl with the clouds of chemicals. The water around these vents can reach temperatures hot enough to melt lead just a few meters away, while only steps back it plummets to near freezing. Yet somehow life thrives, and sea cucumbers are part of that life. They feed on the unique microbial mats and organic particles that flourish in these alien-like ecosystems, often alongside tube worms, blind shrimp, and other strange creatures. No matter where they live, sea cucumbers are specialists in blending in. Their skin is often the colour of the sediment around them, sandy browns, muddy greys, or rocky blacks. Some bury themselves partially beneath the seafloor, leaving only their feeding tentacles poking out like little underwater flowers. Others nestle beneath rocks or coral outcroppings, tucked away from view. This camouflage not only protects them from predators, but also allows them to feed in peace, undisturbed by the hustle and bustle of more energetic marine life. In polar regions, where sea ice forms thick, frozen ceilings above, sea cucumbers can still be found on the seafloor slowly grazing through soft sediments. Despite the freezing temperatures and seasonal darkness, they continue their work, filtering, recycling, and feeding. They seem unaffected by the chill, their bodies moving with the same calm, unhurried grace they display in tropical waters. It's fascinating to consider that wherever you place a sea cucumber, whether in a coral reef, a silty river mouth, or a pitch-black abyss, it will somehow find a way to survive. Their bodies are adaptable, their metabolisms efficient, and their lifestyle surprisingly flexible. They don't rely on speed, strength, or cleverness. They rely on patience, on consistency, on the quiet certainty that life, even in its simplest form, can thrive just about anywhere if it moves in harmony with the world around it. So next time you look out across the sea, whether from the deck of a ship or the shore of a quiet beach, remember this: somewhere beneath those waves, drifting gently through silt and shadow, a sea cucumber is slowly, silently tending to the health of the ocean, no matter how cold, how deep, or how far it may be. One of the most astonishing things about sea cucumbers is that they live their entire lives without a brain. No thoughts, no worries, no racing mind keeping them awake at night. Just a simple, quiet existence guided by ancient instincts. And yet, despite this lack of a centralized brain, sea cucumbers are perfectly capable of surviving, moving, feeding, and even defending themselves. In their world, intelligence takes on a different form, one that doesn't rely on quick decisions or cleverness, but on harmony with the environment and an ability to respond in the gentlest of ways. Instead of a brain, sea cucumbers have a decentralized nervous system. At the center of their body lies a nerve ring that encircles the mouth like a soft crown. From this ring, 5 radial nerve cords extend down the length of the body, following the lines of their inner structure. One for each arm of their echinonodum lineage, though the arms are hidden within their soft, cylindrical form. These nerves don't think in any way we would recognize, but they transmit information, touch, pressure, light, and chemical cues from the environment. These sensations help the sea cucumber decide when to feed, when to hide, and when to gently shift direction across the ocean floor. Touch is especially important. Sea cucumbers are incredibly sensitive to what's around them. Their entire body acts like a soft antenna, picking up vibrations in the water or changes in surface texture. If you were to gently tap a sea cucumber, it might tighten its muscles slightly, withdraw its feeding tentacles, or slowly contract to become smaller and firmer. There is no panic, no flailing, just a quiet, reflexive response. The animal knows it has been touched, but not because it has a brain. It knows in the way a flower knows to turn toward the sun, or a vine knows how to climb, through slow, deeply rooted biological awareness. Some sea cucumbers even display simple decision-making. When placed in new surroundings, they can explore slowly, testing the surface with their tube feet and feeding tentacles. If the area feels safe, they settle in and begin to feed. If not, they may inch away in another direction. This ability to respond to stimuli and adapt to their surroundings without any central processing hub is part of what makes them so mysterious. It's as though they're guided by a kind of embodied wisdom written into every soft fold of their being. Light sensitivity is another curious adaptation. Though sea cucumbers don't have eyes, some species can detect the presence or absence of light using specialized cells on their skin. These photoreceptive spots don't produce images, but they can signal when a shadow falls across the animal, which might mean a predator is near. In response, the sea cucumber might shrink into itself, become rigid, or begin to burrow under the sediment. It doesn't think danger, it simply reacts, following a deeply ancient script coded into its tissues over millions of years. Their tentacles, those soft, feathery arms that surround the mouth, are some of their most sensitive tools. As they feed, the tentacles reach out, collect bits of sand, detritus, and organic particles, then bring them gently to the mouth for sorting. If a tentacle brushes against something sharp or strange, the sea cucumber may retract it and try another direction. Each movement is unhurried, like the unfolding of a fern guided by chemical traces in the water and subtle feedback through the nervous system. And yet, despite this seemingly simple way of being, sea cucumbers are surprisingly effective at surviving. In fact, some species have existed for hundreds of millions of years with very little change. They have outlived the dinosaurs. They have endured mass extinctions. They have flourished in waters untouched by human hands. And now, even in environments altered by climate change, they continue to drift, feed, and adapt. Some scientists believe that the decentralized design of the sea cucumber might even offer clues for soft robotics and artificial intelligence. Machines that operate without a central control system, but instead react in real time to their environment using distributed sensors, could learn a lot from how sea cucumbers move, adapt, and respond. In this way, what seems like a humble, brainless animal might actually hold secrets to future technologies. Perhaps the greatest lesson we can learn from the sea cucumber is that intelligence isn't always fast, loud, or complicated. Sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's slow, sometimes it lives in the body, not the mind. Sea cucumbers don't worry about yesterday or tomorrow. They don't overthink or second guess. They simply exist, moment by moment, inch by inch, doing their quiet work in the depths of the sea. And maybe, just maybe, that's its own kind of wisdom. At first glance, sea cucumbers can seem like the oddballs of the ocean. Their bodies are long, soft, and often lumpy, lacking the graceful fins of fish or the sharp edges of crustaceans. They resemble something between a sausage and a slug, slowly inching their way across the seafloor with an expressionless calm. But every wrinkle, every bump, and every squishy curve has a purpose. The sea cucumber's appearance, while peculiar to us, is the result of millions of years of quiet adaptation, form-following function in the most serene and efficient way imaginable. Their bodies are shaped like elongated tubes, typically wider in the middle and tapered slightly at each end. This design helps them move through sediment and water with minimal resistance. They don't need to swim, chase prey, or flee predators at high speed. Instead, they drift, crawl, and occasionally float. Their shape suits this lifestyle perfectly, simple, streamlined, and gentle. The skin of a sea cucumber might look smooth or bumpy depending on the species. Some are covered in soft nodules or papillae, small projections that help break up their silhouette and make them harder to spot against the seafloor. Others are studded with tiny spines or fleshy outgrowths, which offer protection or house tiny sensory structures. These textures are not random. In many cases, they provide camouflage, allowing the sea cucumber to blend into coral rubble, sandy plains, or rocky crevices. To a predator swimming overhead, they may look like nothing more than a rock, a lump of seaweed, or a bit of debris. Their colours are equally purposeful. Sea cucumbers can be grey, brown, black, or sandy yellow, tones that match the underwater terrain. Some species have darker tops and lighter undersides, a form of countershading that helps them blend in with both the ocean floor and the dim light from above. In more vibrant environments like coral reefs, some species take on brilliant colours, deep reds, vivid purples, even electric blues. While these colours may seem flashy, they can serve as warnings to predators, signals that the sea cucumber may be toxic or unpalatable. In fact, some species produce chemical compounds that taste bitter or irritate the mouths of potential attackers. Their bodies are made of a unique material, a combination of soft tissue and microscopic structures called ossicles. These tiny bone-like plates are embedded in the skin and arranged in flexible patterns, allowing the sea cucumber to shift between soft and firm states. When relaxed, a sea cucumber feels squishy, like a water balloon. But when threatened, it can contract its muscles and become rigid, making it more difficult for predators to bite or swallow. This ability to change texture and firmness is not just a defense mechanism. It also helps the animal move through tight spaces or anchor itself in place during strong currents. Perhaps the most fascinating part of a sea cucumber's appearance is something most people never see: its internal organs. Sea cucumbers have a unique way of expressing distress. They can literally expel their internal organs through a process called evisceration. This isn't just a random reaction, it's a highly evolved defense strategy. When under attack, they forcefully eject parts of their intestines, respiratory trees, or other internal structures out of their rear end, confusing or entangling the predator. The predator may flee, distracted by the sudden mass of sticky, sometimes toxic tissue. Meanwhile, the sea cucumber retreats to safety and begins the slow, remarkable process of regeneration. In just a few weeks, it can regrow what was lost, organs and all. Around the mouth of the sea cucumber, you'll find a circle of delicate, branched tentacles. These are not just for show, they're tools for survival. The tentacles are used to collect food particles from the surrounding water or to sift through the sand. As each tentacle gathers detritus, it's brought one by one to the mouth, where the food is ingested and the sand is left behind. Watching a sea cucumber feed is like observing a slow rhythmic dance, tentacle after tentacle reaching, collecting, retracting and repeating in perfect peaceful order. The body's symmetry is another curious feature. Like all echinoderms, sea cucumbers exhibit what's known as pentaradial symmetry, a 5-part body plan. But because of their elongated shape, this symmetry is stretched out along their length. If you were to look closely at their tube feet, the small suction-like structures on their underside, you'd often find them arranged in rows that follow this hidden 5-part pattern. These tube feet are powered by a water vascular system, allowing them to extend, retract and grip surfaces with gentle precision. Despite their slow movement and odd appearance, sea cucumbers are anything but helpless. Their bodies are designed for endurance. They can withstand high pressures, low oxygen levels, and dramatic changes in temperature or salinity. Some can even absorb oxygen directly through their skin, supplementing the breathing they do through their cloaca. Their soft bodies can fit into crevices, slide under rocks, or nestle between corals, making them hard to dislodge. Even their reproductive strategy reflects their simple efficiency. Many sea cucumbers release sperm and eggs directly into the water, relying on currents to bring them together. In some cases, the fertilized eggs develop into tiny larvae that float among the plankton, drifting for days or weeks before settling on the ocean floor to begin life as tiny sea cucumbers. In every detail of their appearance, sea cucumbers remind us that nature values function over flair. Their strange shapes, flexible bodies, and hidden defenses may not make them the stars of the reef, but they are among its most enduring residents. Quiet, unassuming, and infinitely patient, they embody a different kind of beauty, one that asks nothing of the world except to be left in peace, to move slowly, and to continue the quiet work of living. Sea cucumbers are often described as the quiet custodians of the seafloor, and this title is well earned. Their lives revolve around a slow but essential task, cleaning the ocean floor, grain by grain. Unlike predators that hunt or scavengers that fight over scraps, sea cucumbers perform their role in near soul-certain silence, methodically digesting the sediment beneath them and returning it cleaner and more nutrient-rich than before. They are the gentle recyclers of the deep, and their quiet work keeps entire ecosystems balanced and alive. To understand what makes sea cucumbers such effective cleaners, it helps to follow one on its slow, meandering journey across the seabed. As it moves, it uses its feeding tentacles, soft, sticky extensions that surround its mouth, to probe the sand, scooping up particles of detritus, decaying organic matter, plankton, and microalgae. This mixture, sometimes called marine snow, is made of everything from dead plant cells and bits of fish scales to dissolved fecal matter and tiny microorganisms. To us it might sound like waste, but to a sea cucumber it's a perfectly balanced meal. Each tentacle curls and uncurls like a sleepy flower, collecting the material and gently pushing it into the sea cucumber's mouth. Once inside, the food travels through a long digestive tract that winds through the animal's body. Along the way, nutrients are extracted and absorbed into the sea cucumber's tissues. What remains is cleaned sand, filtered, processed, and excreted back onto the ocean floor in smooth, winding trails. These trails are sometimes visible behind the sea cucumber, like tiny underwater highways of freshly sorted sediment. In a single day, one sea cucumber can process vast amounts of sediment, and when you consider the number of sea cucumbers in a healthy ecosystem, their collective impact becomes astonishing. In some coral reef systems, as for example, sea cucumbers may recycle hundreds of kilograms of sand per square kilometre each year. In deeper environments, they often dominate the benthic seafloor biomass, meaning they are the most common and important animals at those depths. And all the while they are working, not frantically, not noisily, but with calm, continuous dedication. This recycling process has more benefits than simply tidying up the seafloor. As sea cucumbers digest organic matter, they help release nutrients back into the ecosystem in a form that other creatures can use. Nitrogen and phosphorus, for instance, are two essential nutrients that become more available to algae and seagrasses after passing through a sea cucumber's body. In coral reefs, this nutrient recycling supports the health and growth of the coral itself, as well as the many organisms that depend on it. In this way, sea cucumbers are not just cleaning, they are nourishing the underwater world. What makes their role even more vital is that they perform this function in areas where other animals cannot or will not. The soft, silty floors of deep ocean basins, for example, are often low in oxygen and nearly devoid of light. Yet sea cucumbers thrive there, undeterred by the darkness or the pressure. They move slowly over the mud, sometimes barely distinguishable from the floor itself, absorbing what little sustenance is available and purifying the sediment in the process. In the absence of sea cucumbers, these areas could become choked with waste, starved of nutrients, or overrun with harmful bacteria. Their role becomes especially clear when they are removed from the environment. In areas where sea cucumber populations have been over-harvested, either for food, medicine, or commercial trade, the surrounding ecosystems often suffer. Sediment quality declines, nutrient cycling slows, and algal blooms may increase due to imbalances in the water chemistry. In coral reefs, the loss of sea cucumbers has even been linked to reduced coral growth and a decline in biodiversity. Without these soft-bodied janitors working quietly behind the scenes, the health of the entire reef can begin to unravel. Even their movement contributes to their ecological service. As sea cucumbers crawl, they aerate the seafloor in much the same way that earthworms do in soil. Their gentle churning helps prevent the sediment from becoming compacted and allows oxygen to penetrate deeper into the substrate. This benefits countless tiny organisms that live within the sand, microbes, worms, crustaceans, and larvae, all of which depend on a well-oxygenated environment to survive. The sea cucumber, unknowingly, becomes a gardener of the benthic world, tending to the invisible life within the soil. There is something deeply poetic about the sea cucumber's method. Unlike many other animals that consume life to sustain their own, sea cucumbers feed on the remains, what has already fallen, what has already died. They take what the ocean leaves behind and give it back in a better form. They are living proof that value can be found even in decay, and that beauty exists in processes that are slow, hidden, and uncelebrated. In cultures that understand the sea intimately, sea cucumbers are sometimes seen as symbols of renewal, transformation, and quiet strength. And it's easy to see why. They are the ultimate alchemists of the ocean, turning waste into nourishment, disorder into balance, and stillness into action. They ask for nothing in return, no applause, no recognition, just the gentle rhythm of their movement, the silent dedication to their task, and the quiet promise that grain by grain they are helping the ocean breathe a little easier. The mystery of how sea cucumbers breathe is one of the most surprising and fascinating facts in all of marine biology. While most animals have lungs, gills, or some sort of respiratory structure located near their head or torso, sea cucumbers perform the essential act of breathing through an unexpected part of their anatomy, their rear end. That's right, sea cucumbers breathe through their butts. But this isn't a joke of nature. It's a marvel of biological adaptation, as strange as it is effective, and it reveals just how imaginative evolution can be in the depths of the ocean. To understand this unusual method of breathing, we have to look inside the sea cucumber's body, where a pair of organs called respiratory trees are located. These are not trees in the leafy sense, of course, but branching tube-like structures that look a little like soft coral or delicate underwater ferns. These respiratory trees are tucked neatly inside the rear cavity of the animal and are connected to a multi-purpose opening at the posterior end of the sea cucumber's body, a structure known as the cloaca. The cloaca is an anatomical gateway that handles more than one job. It is used for excretion, reproduction, and, remarkably, for breathing. Water enters the sea cucumber's body through the cloaca and flows into the respiratory trees, where oxygen is absorbed and carbon dioxide is released. Then the water is expelled back out through the same opening. This entire process is rhythmic and automatic, a gentle pumping action that continues night and day without pause, helping the sea cucumber stay alive in both oxygen-rich and oxygen-poor environments. The respiratory trees themselves are quite efficient. They are lined with a thin, moist membrane through which gas exchange can occur. Oxygen molecules from the seawater diffuse into the bloodstream through this membrane, while carbon dioxide produced by the sea cucumber's metabolism moves out into the water. The branching design of the trees increases surface area, making gas exchange more efficient and allowing the sea cucumber to extract as much oxygen as possible from the water it draws in. This form of breathing is so efficient, in fact, that sea cucumbers don't need any additional respiratory structures like gills or lungs. Their cloacal breathing keeps them comfortably supplied with oxygen, even in low oxygen environments like the deep sea or stagnant areas of the ocean floor. In places where other animals might struggle to survive, sea cucumbers continue to breathe steadily, gently expanding and contracting their bodies in time, with the water flowing in and out of their cloaca. What's even more fascinating is that this rear-end breathing isn't just a passive process. Many sea cucumbers actively use muscular contractions to draw water in and push it out. This means that they can control the rate of breathing depending on their environment. In oxygen-rich water, they may breathe more slowly. In low oxygen conditions, they can increase the pace to draw in more water and extract more oxygen. It's a dynamic and responsive system, deeply in tune with the rhythms of the sea. Some species even have symbiotic creatures that live inside their cloaca, tiny fish or invertebrates that take shelter in the safety of the sea cucumber's body. Perhaps the most famous of these is the pearlfish, a slender and flexible creature that swims up the sea cucumber's cloacal opening and spends much of its life inside the respiratory trees. While this might sound unsettling, the sea cucumber seems largely unbothered. The pearlfish gets a safe place to live, and the sea cucumber continues its peaceful breathing undisturbed by the tiny tenant within. From a scientific perspective, this method of breathing is a brilliant solution to the sea cucumber's body plan. Lacking a defined head or complex respiratory system, they've made use of the space they do have. Their bodies are essentially hollow tubes, and the cloaca is located near the posterior end, where space allows for the branching of large respiratory trees. Rather than needing to evolve entirely new organs or expose delicate gills to the outside environment, they've adapted a sheltered internal method that serves multiple purposes in one compact, elegant design. This cloacal breathing might seem absurd at first, but it serves as a powerful reminder that evolution doesn't care about appearances. It cares about survival. And the sea cucumber, with its rear-end lungs and branching inner trees, has survived for hundreds of millions of years. It's an ancient design that continues to function perfectly in modern oceans, unchanged and undeterred. In the quiet, dimly lit world of the ocean floor, the sea cucumber breathes in complete stillness. No splashing, no bubbling, no dramatic intake of air, just the steady pulse of water moving in and out, like the soft rhythm of a tide within a single creature. There's something deeply soothing about it, a biological meditation practiced endlessly in the depths. Through this strange, beautiful system, the sea cucumber maintains its quiet life, breathing not through a mouth or a nose, but through the part of its body most animals use for something entirely different. In the end, what seems ridiculous on the surface becomes poetic beneath the waves. The sea cucumber teaches us that nature finds a way, even if that way seems backwards or bizarre. It breathes through the place we least expect, and in doing so, reminds us that life, especially in the ocean, is never bound by the rules we think it should follow. It is wild, it is wondrous, and it is endlessly inventive. The cloaca of a sea cucumber is perhaps one of the most underestimated and misunderstood structures in the animal kingdom. It may not seem glamorous, but this single opening is a marvel of multitasking, an elegant anatomical gateway that performs several critical life functions. In most animals, different systems handle breathing, digestion, and reproduction. But in the sea cucumber, the cloaca manages all three and more, through a quiet, rhythmic choreography that unfolds deep beneath the surface of the sea. Located at the posterior end of the sea cucumber's body, the cloaca is an internal chamber connected to the outside world by a small orifice. At first glance, it looks like little more than a subtle crease or soft indentation, but beneath this unassuming exterior lies a sophisticated muscular chamber that pulses rhythmically, drawing seawater into the body and expelling it back out again. This process serves multiple purposes. The most well-known of these, as we've already explored, is breathing. Water is drawn into the cloaca and directed into the two branching respiratory trees, delicate internal structures where oxygen is extracted and carbon dioxide is released. But the cloaca doesn't stop there. It also acts as the terminal end of the digestive system. After the sea cucumber ingests sediment and organic particles through its mouth and processes them through a long winding gut, the waste is expelled through the cloaca. This waste isn't just discarded trash. It's freshly filtered sand, often cleaner than it was before, rich in nutrients that other organisms on the seafloor can use. So the cloaca isn't just an exit, it's a recycler, returning something valuable to the ecosystem. The cloaca is also involved in reproduction. Sea cucumbers reproduce in a variety of ways, but most species release their gametes, sperm or eggs, into the water column through the cloaca. During breeding seasons, male and female sea cucumbers will often gather in the same area, and, in synchrony with environmental cues such as the lunar cycle or temperature changes, release their reproductive cells in a silent, glittering underwater cloud. These gametes drift through the water, sometimes travelling great distances before meeting their match. This process, known as broadcast spawning, allows sea cucumbers to create the next generation in one of the most serene and unintrusive ways imaginable. In some species, the cloaca serves yet another function, as a doorway to the temporary tenants. Certain animals, such as the slender and eel-like pearlfish, have evolved to enter the sea cucumber's cloaca and take up residence inside the body cavity. They may hide in the respiratory trees during the day and venture out at night to feed. While it might seem alarming for a fish to live inside another animal's body, the relationship is often more symbiotic than parasitic. The sea cucumber offers protection, and in return the pearlfish causes minimal disturbance. Some even speculate that the pearlfish may help keep parasites away or clean the inner cavity, although this is still being studied. The muscular control of the cloaca is also worth noting. It doesn't merely open and close, it pulses with a specific rhythm, one that changes depending on the sea cucumber's needs. When oxygen levels are low, it may contract more frequently, drawing in more water for respiration. During excretion, the contractions become slower and stronger, ensuring that waste is fully expelled. And during spawning, the cloaca gently contracts to release reproductive cells in a slow, graceful wave, releasing life into the sea with barely a ripple. There are even defensive uses for the cloaca. When under attack, some sea cucumbers eject sticky threads from specialized structures near the cloaca, called Cuvierian tubules. These tubules are expelled violently into the water, forming an entangling, adhesive mass that can confuse or trap predators. In some species, these threads are laced with toxins, making them not only sticky but also dangerous. This astonishing defense system, triggered through the cloaca, is like a sudden magical burst from what otherwise seems like a sleepy and harmless creature. The sea cucumber's cloaca is also constantly communicating with its environment, taking in chemical cues from the water that help it determine whether it's safe to feed, spawn, or rest. The opening and closing of the cloaca is so subtle and rhythmic that to the human eye it might go completely unnoticed. But it is, in many ways, the center of the sea cucumber's world. Every breath it takes, every bit of food it discards, every attempt to create new life, all pass through this humble opening. In a way, the cloaca is a symbol of simplicity and complexity woven together. It's a reminder that nature doesn't always need separate organs or elaborate systems to accomplish its goals. Sometimes a single structure, quiet, unassuming, yet tirelessly active, can carry out multiple roles in harmony with its surroundings. In the hushed corridors of the ocean floor, the sea cucumber's cloaca pulses on, breathing, excreting, birthing, defending. It is the quiet engine of a quiet life, a doorway, a rhythm, a lifeline. And though it may not be pretty, it is beautiful in its function, a masterpiece of evolution, working in perfect silence, deep beneath the waves. The act of breathing is so fundamental to life that we often forget it's happening at all. For humans, it's the steady rise and fall of the chest, the quiet rhythm of air flowing in and out of lungs. But in the sea cucumber, this process takes on an entirely different form, one that is far more subtle, hidden, and beautifully in tune with the ocean itself. The gentle flow of water in and out of the sea cucumber's body, through its cloaca and into its respiratory trees, is a kind of underwater meditation. It is silent, continuous, and essential, a living tide that sustains the creature's entire being. Unlike animals that rely on gills or lungs exposed to the outside world, the sea cucumber breathes internally, using water as the medium through which oxygen is gathered and carbon dioxide is released. This process begins with the cloaca, a muscular chamber that contracts and relaxes in a slow, pulsing rhythm. With each contraction, seawater is drawn into the cloaca, where it is directed into two large, branching respiratory trees. These delicate structures extend like feathery ferns throughout the rear of the animal's body cavity, each branch lined with a thin membrane that facilitates gas exchange. When the water enters these trees, it doesn't rush or swirl, it glides, gently spreading through the branches and bathing the internal surfaces in oxygen-rich fluid. The oxygen diffuses across the membranes and into the sea cucumber's body fluids, which carry it to the tissues in need. Meanwhile, carbon dioxide, the waste product of cellular metabolism, travels in the opposite direction, passing from the body fluids into the respiratory trees to be released into the outgoing water. Then, as the cloaca contracts once more, the used water is slowly expelled back into the sea. This breathing process is not just efficient, it's also adaptive. In low-oxygen environments, such as the deep sea or stagnant tidal pools, sea cucumbers can increase the frequency of their cloacal pumping to draw in more water. In oxygen-rich areas, the pulsing slows. The sea cucumber adjusts its breathing to the environment without conscious thought, guided purely by internal chemical signals and the timeless logic of its biology. What makes this system particularly graceful is its minimalism. There are no moving parts exposed to the outside world, no flaring gills or flapping fins. Instead, everything happens within, beneath the soft skin and quiet exterior of the sea cucumber. It breathes not through struggle or strain, but through flow, water in, water out, in a rhythm as calm and ancient as the sea itself. In many species, this flow is assisted by tiny cilia lining the interior of the respiratory trees. These hair-like structures beat in synchronized waves, helping to move water through the branches and maintain steady circulation. The result is a kind of internal current, gentle, silent, and ceaseless, that allows for continuous gas exchange even when the animal is completely still. This internal breathing also offers protection. In contrast to external gills, which can be vulnerable to damage, parasites, or clogging by sand and debris, the respiratory trees are safely housed within the sea cucumber's body. This makes them well suited for life on the seafloor, where sediment is constantly being stirred up by tides, storms, and passing animals. It also helps sea cucumbers thrive in the deep ocean, where conditions are stable but extreme. Freezing cold, crushing pressure, and total darkness. Even there, far from the sun's reach, the sea cucumber's breath flows on, uninterrupted and unnoticed. This inner tide becomes even more remarkable when we consider the size and scale of some sea cucumbers. Certain deep-sea species can grow to over 2 meters in length, with massive undulating bodies that move slowly across the abyssal plain. Yet no matter how large they become, the basic rhythm remains the same. Draw water in, pass it through the trees, let the oxygen flow in, let the carbon dioxide flow out, then release the water back into the sea. There is no urgency, no drama, just life unfolding in its most elemental form. Breathing in sea cucumbers is not just a function, it's a way of being. It reflects their entire philosophy of life, patient, unobtrusive, efficient. Their respiration mirrors their movement, their feeding, their role in the ecosystem. All are slow, deliberate, and essential. Just as they clean the sand grain by grain, they breathe breath by breath. Each pulse a quiet affirmation of their place in the world. Even their interactions with other organisms are shaped by this breathing. Symbiotic species like the pearlfish enter and exit the sea cucumber's body through the cloaca, timing their visits with the rhythm of water flow. Some parasitic or commensal creatures may even live within the respiratory trees themselves, making the breathing process a shared experience between host and guest. In this way, the sea cucumber's breath becomes more than a biological process. It becomes a connection point, a gateway through which other lives pass and shelter. There is something deeply calming about this whole system. Watching a sea cucumber breathe, if you could observe it closely and with patience, would be like watching the sea itself, inhale and exhale. No fuss, no tension, just the eternal exchange of life-giving water flowing through a body that has not changed in hundreds of millions of years. It is a breathing that remembers the dawn of time, a breathing that needs no lungs and makes no sound. In the stillness of the ocean floor, as currents move slowly past and sunlight dims into blue, the sea cucumber rests. Its tentacles may be still, its body may appear inert, but within, the breath flows on. Water enters, oxygen flows in, life continues softly, rhythmically, without end. In that gentle tide we find a lesson, that life does not always roar or rush. Sometimes it flows, sometimes it breathes in silence. In the strange and beautiful world of the sea cucumber, there is a quiet secret that few would expect. Some sea cucumbers host other animals inside their own bodies. These guests are not parasites in the traditional sense, nor are they always entirely welcome, but they are there, slipping silently in and out of the sea cucumber's cloaca, living within its respiratory system and depending on it for shelter and protection. This peculiar relationship, known as symbiosis, takes on a surreal dimension when one realizes that a creature's rear end becomes the entrance to another creature's home. Perhaps the most famous of these curious tenants is the pearlfish. Slender, silver, and eel-like, the pearlfish is a master of stealth and flexibility. It spends much of its life hiding inside the body cavity of the sea cucumber, slipping through the cloaca, often while the sea cucumber is breathing, and nestling itself in the safety of the respiratory trees or surrounding tissues. While many animals use coral crevices or burrows for refuge, the pearlfish has taken a far more intimate route, choosing to live inside the body of another animal, hidden from predators and sheltered from the turbulent world outside. This behaviour might sound invasive, but in many cases it's not as harmful as it seems. The sea cucumber's cloaca and respiratory trees are spacious enough to accommodate small visitors without significant harm. The pearlfish doesn't feed on the sea cucumber's tissue, at least not in every species. Instead, it uses the body cavity as a refuge during the day, venturing out at night to feed on small invertebrates and plankton. In some cases, the relationship may be more mutual than parasitic, though scientists are still unraveling the subtle dynamics of this connection. There are even instances where multiple pearlfish have been found inside a single sea cucumber. Mated pairs have been observed living together within the same host, sharing the space as though it were a tiny apartment. These pairs may use the sea cucumber for an extended period, returning each day to the safety of its body after foraging in the surrounding waters. In this way, the sea cucumber becomes more than a shelter. It becomes a kind of living base camp in the vast wilderness of the ocean floor. But the pearlfish is not the only creature to take advantage of the sea cucumber's unusual anatomy. Small crabs, shrimp, and even worms have also been found inside the bodies of various sea cucumber species. Some of these animals appear to feed on the organic material that flows through the respiratory trees, such as waste particles or mucus, while others may simply be using the cavity as a hiding place. The sea cucumber, in its passive and tolerant way, rarely expels these guests unless they cause noticeable distress. This form of internal symbiosis is not without risks. In some cases, the guest becomes too demanding. Certain pearlfish have been observed feeding on the sea cucumber's gonads or respiratory tissues, damaging the host in the process. When this happens, the relationship shifts from commensalism, in which one benefits without harming the other, to parasitism, where one thrives at the expense of the other. Yet even in these situations, the sea cucumber seems to endure. It may regenerate damaged tissues over time, or even expel the offender during one of its periodic contraction. The entry of these guests is made possible by the sea cucumber's cloacal breathing. Because water flows in and out of the body through the cloaca, the opening must remain relatively accessible and flexible. This creates an opportunity for other animals, those agile and small enough to exploit the opening. It's as if the sea cucumber, simply by existing and breathing, creates a doorway into a hidden world. one that few creatures even dare to explore. For marine biologists, this relationship between sea cucumbers and their internal lodgers is a source of endless fascination. It challenges conventional ideas of animal boundaries. Where does one creature end and another begin when one lives inside the other? Is the host aware? Does it suffer or benefit? The ocean is filled with examples of symbiosis, from cleaning stations run by shrimp to the glowing partnerships of bioluminescent bacteria, but few are as intimate or bizarre as this. Culturally, these relationships also captivate the imagination. In some alpine communities, divers who harvest sea cucumbers report finding pearlfish or small crustaceans hidden within them, emerging only after the animal is disturbed. Stories circulate of fish leaping from sea cucumbers on the deck of a boat, as though the creature had swallowed something magical. In folklore and local myths, such encounters often become metaphors for hidden worlds or unexpected discoveries. Scientifically, the study of these relationships sheds light on the complexity of marine ecosystems. It reminds us that even the most humble and stationary creatures, those that lie quietly on the seafloor, breathing through their back ends, are part of a vast web of interactions. Nothing in the ocean is truly isolated. Even the soft, slow sea cucumber becomes a refuge, a provider, a participant in the dramas of survival that play out each day beneath the waves. It's remarkable to think of how quietly all of this happens. While we walk the beaches above, unaware, a sea cucumber lies nestled in the sand below, its cloaca pulsing with the rhythm of breath. Inside, perhaps, a slender fish is resting. Maybe two, maybe a tiny shrimp is brushing past the folds of the respiratory tree, unnoticed by both the host and the sea around them. There is no conflict here, no noise, just the quiet cohabitation of life in its strangest and most peaceful form. And so the sea cucumber becomes more than just a cleaner of the ocean floor. It becomes a sanctuary, a vessel, a breathing temple in which the lives of others find shelter and continuity. In its silence it welcomes the small and the unseen. In its stillness it offers safety. And in doing so it reminds us that sometimes the most unexpected places are also the most essential. Beneath the calm surface of the sea cucumber lives a life of stillness and simplicity. It spends its days slowly gliding along the ocean floor, sifting through sediment, breathing through its cloaca, and blending effortlessly into its surroundings. But when danger comes, when a predator looms too close or a threat suddenly disturbs the peace, the sea cucumber reveals one of the most astonishing defense mechanisms in the animal kingdom. It literally ejects its own internal organs. To the untrained eye, this act might look like a form of self-destruction, but to the sea cucumber, it is a calculated survival strategy honed by millions of years of evolutionary refinement. This strange phenomenon is called evisceration, and it is both dramatic and effective. When threatened, a sea cucumber can violently contract its body wall muscles, forcing open a tear at its posterior or lateral side. Through this opening it expels part of its internal anatomy, most commonly its digestive tract, respiratory trees, and in some cases, sticky tubules known as Cuvierian tubules. These tubules are unique to certain sea cucumber species and are expelled specifically through the cloaca, trailing out like silken threads into the water. As they stretch and unravel, they become sticky and elastic, entangling potential predators or irritating their sensitive tissues. To a would-be attacker, this sudden eruption of guts and goo is unexpected and confusing. A fish or crab that was moments away from making a meal of the sea cucumber is suddenly confronted with a tangled mess of fibres or a cloud of internal matter, sometimes accompanied by toxic chemicals that burn or taste bitter. This distraction buys the sea cucumber precious time to crawl away, or in some species, to float away in the current, leaving the predator dazed and unsatisfied. While it may seem self-defeating to eject essential organs, the sea cucumber is more resilient than it appears. Within days of evisceration, the process of regeneration begins. Cells begin to divide, tissues reorganize, and the lost organs slowly regrow. Depending on the species and environmental conditions, a sea cucumber can fully regenerate its digestive system and associated structures in a matter of weeks. It's as if the creature hit a biological reset button, emerging from trauma not only alive, but entirely restored. This capacity for regeneration is one of the most extraordinary features of the sea cucumber. Few animals possess such a robust ability to rebuild their own organs from scratch. In fact, scientists have studied sea cucumbers in hopes of uncovering clues that might one day help humans heal injuries or regrow tissue. Their bodies contain specialized cells, similar to stem cells, that can differentiate into various tissue types. These cells respond to damage by triggering complex chemical signals that orchestrate the rebuilding process. It's a reminder that what looks like destruction is, in the world of the sea cucumber, the beginning of renewal. Not all sea cucumbers use the same defense strategy. In species that lack Cuvierian tubules, the primary response may be to expel the gut itself, sometimes along with a portion of the respiratory trees. While less sticky and dramatic, the sudden release of a long, coiled intestinal tract can still startle or distract a predator. In some species, the eviscerated organs may even emit chemical cues that warn other nearby sea cucumbers of danger, triggering a chain reaction of escape and defense. Interestingly, sea cucumbers don't use this defense casually. It is costly and reserved for only the most serious threats. A predator must be persistent or aggressive enough to trigger the response. For the sea cucumber, it is a last resort, a way of saying, "Take this and leave me be." Once the organs are expelled, the animal becomes more vulnerable, and its energy is focused on recovery. During this time, it may reduce feeding, limit movement, and find a safe place to rest and rebuild. Cuvierian tubules, used by certain species like Bohadskea and Holothuria, are particularly fascinating. These threads can elongate up to 20 times their resting length, becoming long, sticky fibers that tangle and adhere to anything they touch. They are composed of specialized proteins and mucopolysaccharides, making them incredibly elastic and adhesive. In some species, they are even laced with toxins that can stun or harm a predator. Scientists have found that the chemical makeup of these tubules varies from species to species, and some may have potential applications in medicine or biotechnology. The act of evisceration also has a deeper ecological role. By sacrificing part of its internal body, the sea cucumber helps maintain balance in the food web. The expelled organs may become food for other scavengers, while the sea cucumber continues on its path of recycling sand and sustaining marine life. Nothing in nature is wasted. Even the act of defense becomes an offering to the ecosystem. Some researchers have even explored the spiritual symbolism of evisceration in various human cultures. In regions where sea cucumbers are well known, their ability to shed and return is seen as a metaphor for resilience, renewal, and the ability to let go of what no longer serves. They teach us that sometimes the only way to survive is to release, to give up something precious in order to preserve the whole. And in that surrender there is strength. It's easy to overlook the sea cucumber. Its quiet, humble movements, its soft body, its unassuming presence on the ocean floor don't demand attention. But beneath that gentle exterior is a creature that can perform acts of astonishing self-sacrifice and miraculous recovery. It can give up what seems essential, survive without it, and then regrow what was lost, more quietly and efficiently than most animals on Earth. In the end, the sea cucumber reminds us that defense doesn't always mean attack, that survival can be soft, flexible, and silent, that sometimes the greatest power lies not in resisting harm, but in recovering from it, and that even when our insides are turned out, when everything feels lost, it is still possible to begin again. Watching a sea cucumber move is like watching time itself slow down. There are no sudden jerks, no flapping fins or darting tails, just a slow, deliberate glide, as if the creature is being gently pulled along by the rhythm of the ocean's pulse. Every inch it moves feels like the passing of a quiet hour. And yet, in this near stillness, there is purpose, direction, and an unshakable calm. Sea cucumbers are by nature wanderers. They do not stake out territory. They do not chase prey. They do not rush. They simply move. Their movement is made possible by a network of tiny, tube-like feet that cover the underside of their bodies. These tube feet are part of the sea cucumber's water vascular system, a unique hydraulic network that all echinoderms share. Rather than using muscles in the traditional sense, sea cucumbers pump seawater through a series of canals and chambers within their body. This water pressure extends and contracts the tube feet, allowing the animal to slowly pull itself along the surface of the seafloor. Each tube foot ends in a small suction cup, which grips and releases the sand or rock beneath. The sea cucumber doesn't step exactly. It clings, presses forward, and releases, one foot at a time, in a slow and seamless flow. Sometimes hundreds of these feet work together, creating a kind of peristaltic motion that allows the animal to inch forward like a living conveyor belt. And because the feet can function independently, the sea cucumber can navigate uneven terrain, flow over coral rubble, or gently climb over rocks without hesitation. Some species have more prominent tube feet than others. In deep-sea environments, where the seafloor is soft and silty, tube feet may be reduced or even absent. These sea cucumbers move by flexing and undulating their entire body, using gentle contractions of their muscles to push themselves forward. Imagine a soft, pliable log slowly rolling forward by changing its shape. This is how the deep-sea cucumber travels. Its movement without effort, progression without struggle. What's perhaps most fascinating about the sea cucumber's locomotion is how silent and unobtrusive it is. There are no splashes, no vibrations, no warnings. A predator might not even notice the sea cucumber's approach or retreat. This quietness is part of their survival strategy. It helps them avoid detection and allows them to move through the busy world of the reef without disturbing anything around them. But sea cucumbers do more than crawl. Some can float. In species found in deeper waters, a specialized form of movement has evolved: swimming. Though not common in all sea cucumbers, some deep-sea species possess the ability to lift off the ocean floor and drift through the water column. They do this by inflating their bodies slightly and using small fin-like structures or lateral folds to guide their descent. It is not swimming in the traditional sense. There is no propulsion, no deliberate direction, but a graceful slow-motion fall, like a leaf drifting to the ground in still air. It allows them to escape threats or relocate when the terrain becomes unfavorable. Others take to the current. With minimal effort, some sea cucumbers let themselves be carried by the water. They lift their bodies slightly off the seafloor, release their grip and float passively along the bottom, letting the tide or deep sea flow take them to new feeding grounds. This method of locomotion requires no energy, and for a creature that feeds continuously and moves constantly, conserving energy is vital. Still others burrow. Species that live in softer substrates may use their bodies to dig into the sediment, disappearing almost entirely beneath the surface. They inch forward like underground travelers, pushing aside sand and mud with subtle flexing motions. Once hidden, they remain there for hours or days, feeding on particles within the sediment, emerging only when necessary. It is a kind of invisibility made possible by motion, slow, quiet, but effective. Despite their sluggish appearance, sea cucumbers are always active. They may move only a few centimeters per hour, but over the course of days or weeks they can travel surprising distances. They follow trails of organic matter across the seafloor, constantly feeding and recycling, shaping the landscape in the most delicate of ways. Each movement helps oxygenate the sediment, redistribute nutrients, and maintain the ecological health of their environment. Their movement also changes with their needs. During mating seasons, sea cucumbers may seek out others of their kind, slowly migrating towards communal areas where spawning can take place. In response to environmental changes, temperature shifts, oxygen levels, or food scarcity, they may move toward deeper or shallower waters, and when disturbed or threatened, some can detach from the seafloor completely, letting the water carry them away from danger. This adaptability, wrapped in such a slow and measured pace, is what makes sea cucumber movement so mesmerizing. It is patient, persistent, and completely unhurried. In a world that often values speed, the sea cucumber reminds us that progress can be quiet, that survival does not require aggression, that presence can be powerful without being loud. Even when they appear still, sea cucumbers are subtly in motion. Their tentacles wave gently in the current, collecting food. Their tube feet shift and adjust, seeking better grip. Their body pulses with the steady rhythm of cloacal breathing. Every part of them is engaged in the act of living, but always softly, always slowly. If you could watch a sea cucumber over the course of a full day, you'd see a gentle dance unfold, a gradual path etched across the sand, a tiny transformation of the seafloor. You'd see how much can be accomplished without haste, how a creature without urgency can still leave a meaningful mark on the world around it. And perhaps most importantly, you'd feel the peace that comes from watching something that is never rushed. The sea cucumber's motion is not just a means of getting from one place to another. It is a way of being, a life lived moment by moment, inch by inch, in perfect harmony with the slow rhythms of the sea. Far below the reach of sunlight, beneath layers of water so deep and cold that even time seems to move more slowly, sea cucumbers thrive in one of the most extreme and mysterious environments on Earth, the deep sea. At these crushing depths, where pressure can exceed 1,000 times that of the surface and temperatures hover just above freezing, most creatures would collapse or perish, but not the sea cucumber. These gentle beings move and breathe in stillness, undisturbed by the cold, the dark, or the weight of the ocean above them. In this world of eternal twilight, or in many cases, total darkness, sea cucumbers have adapted to a life of quiet endurance. They live on the abyssal plains, vast flat stretches of the ocean floor that stretch for thousands of miles like silent deserts beneath the sea. Here, there are no swaying corals or darting fish. Instead, the landscape is soft, silty, and still. Life moves slowly, and death comes even more slowly. Food is scarce, and every scrap of organic material that drifts down from the surface is precious. These particles of detritus, tiny flakes of dead plankton, fecal matter, and microscopic fragments of animals and plants, rain down from above in what scientists call marine snow. This snow is not bright or white. It is dark and delicate, a gentle fall of ancient remains, drifting for weeks or months before reaching the ocean floor. And waiting for it, ever patient, is the sea cucumber. Their bodies in the deep sea often look different from their shallow water cousins. They may be translucent or ghostly white, with delicate jelly-like skins and faint bioluminescent glows. Some have wing-like structures or fins that help them hover above the sediment. Others have small flattened bodies that press closely to the ground, allowing them to slowly graze across the surface in search of sustenance. Their tentacles, often longer and more sensitive than those of their tropical relatives, wave gracefully in the current, searching for the faintest trace of food. Breathing at these depths is an act of faith and persistence. The oxygen levels in the deep sea are often lower, and the water colder, making metabolism slower and respiration more demanding. Yet the sea cucumber continues to breathe through its cloaca, drawing in water and sending it through its respiratory trees in a slow, measured rhythm. In this dark silence, the act of breathing becomes a ritual, each pulse a testament to survival, each breath a whisper in the endless stillness. The cloaca opens gently, letting water in. The respiratory trees receive it, like the leaves of a deep-sea forest. Oxygen seeps through the membranes, carbon dioxide flows out, and the water is quietly released. This cycle repeats endlessly, unbroken even by the passage of centuries. Some deep-sea sea cucumbers may live decades, perhaps longer. In the absence of light and in the grip of cold, life stretches out slow and deliberate, and still they move, not far, not fast, but forward. Their movements are glacial but purposeful, tiny progressions across a desert of mud and mystery. In some areas of the deep sea, they are the dominant form of life. The floor may be dotted with them, each individual spaced apart like stars scattered across a night sky. Together they process the sediment, recycle nutrients, and create microenvironments for other deep-sea organisms. They are the quiet custodians of this hidden world. There is something profoundly poetic about this life in the abyss. These sea cucumbers are not predators. They do not flash or chase or fight. They do not seek glory or power. They simply endure. They breathe, they feed, they move, and in doing so they shape an entire ecosystem. They show us that resilience does not require strength, that life can thrive even in the coldest, darkest places, that survival is often a matter of patience, not force. Occasionally something extraordinary will pass by, an anglerfish with a glowing lure, or a giant squid drifting in the current. But the sea cucumber remains undisturbed. It does not panic. It does not flee. It continues its quiet work, breathing steadily, resting gently on the soft sea floor, as it has done for countless generations. Even in the deepest parts of the Mariana Trench, the sea cucumber can be found. When scientists sent down cameras to those unimaginably deep places, they saw, among the few recognizable shapes, the soft curve of a sea cucumber inching its way along the silty bottom, undaunted by the crushing pressure above. They are the great survivors, not flashy, not fearsome, but unstoppable in their quiet determination. In their presence, even the darkest parts of the ocean are not empty. They are alive, pulsing with breath and slow motion, thanks in part to these humble beings. Perhaps there is something we can learn from them. In our world of speed and noise and constant striving, the sea cucumber offers a different model, that progress does not have to be fast to be meaningful. That purpose can be found in the smallest of actions, that we too can breathe calmly in the midst of pressure, that even in isolation or darkness, there is a way to endure, to move, and to be. So while the surface world spins in chaos, somewhere far below, a sea cucumber breathes. The water enters, the trees unfold, the oxygen flows, and in the heart of the abyss life goes on. Quiet, steady, unshaken. Though often overlooked and underestimated, sea cucumbers play a vital and sometimes surprising role in the intricate web of life that makes up the ocean's ecosystems. Their contribution to the circle of life is subtle but profound, weaving together nutrient cycles, habitat maintenance, and the support of countless other creatures. Without their slow and steady work, many marine environments would struggle to maintain the balance needed for healthy growth and diversity. At the core of their ecological role is their constant processing of the sediment on the seafloor. As sea cucumbers move along, feeding on organic particles and detritus, they digest and break down material that might otherwise accumulate and stagnate. By doing this, they help recycle nutrients locked in dead plants, animals, and waste, returning these vital elements back into the ecosystem in a form that other organisms can use. This recycling is critical, particularly in nutrient-poor environments like coral reefs and deep-sea plains, where the efficient reuse of resources is essential for sustaining life. In coral reef habitats, sea cucumbers act as natural cleaners. They slowly sift through sand and rubble, ingesting organic matter that settles from the water above. Their digestion transforms this material, making nitrogen, phosphorus, and other nutrients more bioavailable. These nutrients fertilize the coral polyps themselves, as well as the algae and seagrasses that live nearby. The healthier these plants are, the more oxygen they produce, and the more food and shelter they provide to a multitude of fish, invertebrates, and microorganisms. In this way, sea cucumbers contribute to the vitality and resilience of the reef, helping it withstand threats like bleaching, disease, and human impact. Beyond the reef, on the vast muddy or sandy plains of the ocean, sea cucumbers play a similar role. These environments may seem barren at first glance, but they teem with microscopic life, much of it hidden in the sediment. By turning over the sediment, sea cucumbers aerate the ocean floor much like earthworms do in soil. Their movements prevent compaction, allowing oxygen to penetrate deeper and enabling a diversity of tiny organisms, bacteria, protozoa, worms, and crustaceans to thrive. These small creatures form the base of many food webs, supporting larger animals such as fish and cephalopods. Without the sea cucumber's slow but steady disturbance of the sediment, the health of these benthic communities would be compromised. Sea cucumbers also serve as prey for a variety of predators, from crabs and starfish to larger fish and even some seabirds. Their role as a food source ensures that energy flows upward through the food chain, nourishing species that in turn support others. This interconnectedness is a fundamental principle of ecology. Every species depends on others, directly or indirectly, for survival. Interestingly, some cultures have recognized the importance of sea cucumbers for centuries. In parts of Asia and the Pacific Islands, sea cucumbers, often called trepang or bêche de mer, have been harvested not only for food, but also for their believed medicinal properties. Traditional knowledge often emphasizes the sea cucumber's role in maintaining healthy reefs and fisheries, understanding implicitly that their presence supports the overall abundance of the ocean. Modern science is now confirming many of these insights, linking sustainable harvesting practices to the preservation of marine ecosystems. However, overharvesting and habitat destruction threaten sea cucumber populations worldwide. Because of their ecological importance, declines in their numbers can have cascading effects. Reduced sea cucumber populations mean less nutrient recycling, poorer sediment quality, and weaker reef resilience. In some areas, fish stocks have declined alongside sea cucumber losses, illustrating how deeply their health is intertwined. Conservation efforts increasingly recognize sea cucumbers as keystone species, organisms that have a disproportionately large effect on their environment relative to their abundance. Moreover, sea cucumbers contribute to the carbon cycle, another crucial aspect of the global ecosystem. By ingesting and processing organic material, they help sequester carbon in the sediment. Some studies suggest that their bioturbation, the disturbance of sediment, affects how carbon is stored or released in the ocean floor, influencing climate regulation on a planetary scale. Though much remains to be learned, these roles add another layer of significance to these humble creatures. It is easy to overlook creatures that move slowly and live quietly, yet the sea cucumber's influence reaches far beyond its modest appearance. It reminds us that the health of the ocean depends on countless small processes working in harmony, each piece vital, each role irreplaceable. From the sandy beds of the deep sea to the bustling coral reefs, sea cucumbers stand as unsung heroes, patiently supporting life in its many forms. By feeding, recycling, aerating, and nourishing, they maintain the cycles of life that allow the ocean to flourish. In their presence, coral reefs grow vibrant, seagrasses thrive, fish populations remain abundant. and the benthic world hums with activity. They are the quiet keepers of balance, the gentle gardeners of the seafloor, endlessly working in the background so that life above may continue to bloom. So next time you think of the ocean, remember the sea cucumber, not for its speed or spectacle, but for its steadfast dedication to the endless, beautiful dance of life beneath the waves. Sea cucumbers have long captured the fascination of cultures around the world, not just as curious marine creatures, but as beings imbued with mysterious healing powers. Across Asia, the Pacific Islands, and beyond, they have been harvested, dried, and prepared as traditional medicines believed to boost vitality, improve immunity, and promote overall wellness. This ancient reverence has sparked modern scientific inquiry, revealing that these soft-bodied echinoderms may indeed hold remarkable biological secrets with potential benefits for human health. In traditional Chinese medicine, sea cucumbers, known as hei shen, are prized for their supposed abilities to invigorate the kidneys, nourish the blood, and strengthen yang energy. They are often prescribed for conditions ranging from fatigue and arthritis to impotence and wound healing. Similarly, in Pacific Islanders cultures, sea cucumbers are used in ritual and healing practices, valued as symbols of longevity and regeneration. These beliefs are not merely folklore, they are reflections of observations that have been passed down through generations, suggesting that the sea cucumber's unique biology may have tangible effects on health. Modern research is beginning to uncover the biochemical foundations behind these traditional uses. Sea cucumbers produce a variety of bioactive compounds, special molecules that can interact with biological systems in powerful ways. Among these are triterpene glycosides, molecules known for their anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and even anti-cancer properties. These compounds help protect sea cucumbers from predators and infections in the wild, but they also show promise as potential therapeutic agents for humans. Studies have demonstrated that extracts from sea cucumbers can inhibit the growth of certain cancer cells in laboratory settings, potentially interfering with tumour development and metastasis. They have also been found to modulate immune system responses, enhancing the body's ability to fight infections and reducing harmful inflammation. Some compounds appear to have anticoagulant effects, thinning the blood and improving circulation. While research is still in early stages, these findings suggest that sea cucumbers are a rich source of natural pharmaceuticals waiting to be fully explored. Beyond their chemical arsenal, sea cucumbers' remarkable ability to regenerate lost organs has inspired biomedical research in tissue engineering and regenerative medicine. Their capacity to rebuild complex internal structures, such as digestive tracts and respiratory trees, after evisceration involves stem cell-like processes that scientists hope to understand and one day replicate in humans. Insights gained from studying these regenerative mechanisms could revolutionize treatments for injuries, degenerative diseases, and organ failure. Interestingly, the healing properties of sea cucumbers extend beyond medicine. Their unique collagen, a structural protein found in their skin and connective tissues, is prized for cosmetic and skincare applications. Collagen derived from sea cucumbers is highly bioavailable and has been used in creams and supplements designed to improve skin elasticity, reduce wrinkles, and promote wound healing. This natural source offers an alternative to traditional bovine or marine collagens, appealing to consumers seeking sustainable and effective skincare ingredients. Sustainability, however, is a concern. As demand for sea cucumbers grows, overharvesting has led to significant population declines in many parts of the world. This not only threatens the species but also the delicate ecosystems they support. Responsible harvesting practices, aquaculture initiatives, and conservation efforts are crucial to ensure that sea cucumbers continue to thrive in their natural habitats while supporting human health benefits. In some regions, scientists and local communities are collaborating to cultivate sea cucumbers in controlled environments, allowing for sustainable production of both food and medicinal products. These aquaculture projects help reduce pressure on wild populations, while also providing economic opportunities for coastal communities. The integration of traditional knowledge with modern science offers a hopeful path forward, balancing cultural respect, ecological stewardship, and scientific advancement. Sea cucumbers also offer ecological benefits that indirectly support human health. By maintaining healthy coral reefs, recycling nutrients, and improving sediment quality, they help preserve the biodiversity that underpins marine resources, fish stocks, medicinal compounds, and natural products essential to many cultures and economies. Protecting sea cucumbers, therefore, is part of a broader commitment to safeguarding ocean health and, by extension, human well-being. There is a poetic harmony in the sea cucumber's role as a healer, both in its environment and potentially in human bodies. Its quiet, unassuming presence belies a powerful capacity to regenerate, protect, and nurture. From the depths of the ocean to the shelves of traditional medicine shops and laboratories, sea cucumbers bridge worlds of ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science. As research continues, the hope is that we will better understand and respect these remarkable creatures, not only for their ecological importance, but also for the healing gifts they may offer. The story of the sea cucumber reminds us that nature's quietest inhabitants often hold the most profound secrets, waiting patiently to reveal their mysteries to those who listen. In this gentle creature, we see an invitation to explore, to protect, and to learn from the ocean's deep pharmacy, to recognize that healing is not always loud or fast. Sometimes it is slow, subtle, and woven into the very fabric of life beneath the waves. As we prepare to leave the gentle company of the sea cucumber and rise slowly from the ocean floor, a profound sense of calm settles over the underwater world. A quiet farewell whispered by these soft-bodied custodians of the sea, their lives spent inching across the sediment, breathing through their cloacas, and silently recycling the ocean's leftovers, form an unspoken symphony of survival, renewal, and balance. They may not capture the spotlight with speed or spectacle, but their importance is woven deeply into the fabric of marine life. The sea cucumber's world is one of slow rhythms and subtle actions. Each breath it takes, water drawn in, oxygen absorbed, carbon dioxide expelled, is a delicate pulse that sustains its quiet existence. Its movement, measured and deliberate, carves gentle trails across the seafloor, trails that mark both passage and purpose. These pathways remind us that life need not rush to be meaningful, that persistence often lies in patience and softness rather than force. In the vastness of the ocean, sea cucumbers connect the dots of life. They bridge the microcosm of sediment microbes with the larger creatures that roam the reefs and deep sea. Their slow processing of nutrients nourishes coral polyps, feeds tiny benthic animals, and supports fish populations that rely on healthy reefs for shelter and food. They are both consumers and providers, quietly maintaining the health of ecosystems that teem with life and colour. Their unique adaptations, breathing through their butts, ejecting their internal organs to evade danger, hosting tiny symbionts within their bodies, reveal a creature perfectly tuned to its environment, a master of survival through humility and flexibility. These unusual traits challenge us to reconsider our ideas of beauty and strength, to find wonder in the strange and the overlooked. As we ascend from the depths alongside them, we carry with us lessons from their slow journey. The sea cucumber teaches us about resilience, that sometimes to survive, we must let go of what we cannot hold, trusting in the power of regeneration and renewal. It reminds us that survival is not always about speed or dominance, but often about quiet endurance and gentle persistence. Its life invites us to slow down, to breathe deeply, and to appreciate the small, often invisible processes that sustain the world around us. Beyond their biological significance, sea cucumbers evoke a spiritual metaphor. their ability to breathe through unexpected places, to host others within themselves, and to shed and regrow parts of their bodies speaks to themes of transformation, acceptance, and interconnectedness. They embody the idea that life is a continuous cycle of giving and receiving, loss and recovery, solitude and coexistence. In many cultures, the sea cucumber is seen as a symbol of healing and protection, qualities that resonate deeply with anyone who has faced adversity and found strength in vulnerability. They remind us that true power can be quiet, that healing often comes from within, and that harmony with one's surroundings is a form of wisdom. As our journey with the sea cucumber ends, imagine the ocean floor once more, a vast, silent landscape dotted with these humble creatures, each one a small miracle of life. The water above shimmers with light filtering through distant waves, fish glide through coral gardens, and the deep sea pulses with mystery and life. The sea cucumber continues its slow path, breathing, feeding, and sustaining, a gentle guardian of the underwater world. We leave the ocean's depths carrying the sea cucumber's story with us, a story of survival without hurry, of life in harmony with the environment, and of beauty found in the soft and strange. As we drift into dreams or return to our daily lives, may their quiet presence inspire patience, resilience, and a deeper connection to the natural world. In this moment of farewell, let us honour the sea cucumber, not just as an odd creature of the sea, but as a teacher, a healer, and a silent hero of the ocean. Their journey continues, unbroken and eternal, beneath the waves, reminding us all that sometimes the greatest strength lies in softness, the greatest wisdom in stillness, and the greatest journey in the slow unfolding of life itself.